Hi everyone, my name's Lee. I've got my own little sort of hobby bike building thing going on. Lilembobbers, L-I-L-E-M Bobbers. Follow me on Instagram if you want to, if you're bored. Anyway, about 3 years ago I bought myself this beauty. It's a 1200 Vmax. I bloody love it. So I'm more into my Harleys, my choppers, my classics and that, but this is a classic in its own right. It is cracking. I've been around the Alps on it, I've been down for the Dolomites in the Florence on it, recently done North Coast 500. Yeah, love it. It's had its issues. When I bought it, it'd been outside for I think about 5-6 months in the rain. So it was a full strip and rebuild. I've just put it back standard. There's nothing different on it. It had a hot start issue, which some of you may know that you end up triangulating the earth, changing the 2-bush to 4-bush on the starter motor, putting a gel battery on it, a few basic things like that. But apart from that, I've kept it just stock. The other big issue is it's got a very similar issue that I've had for a fair few years now, which is we both drink a lot. So to get over this, my amazing wife decided to buy me this beauty for Christmas, which is the larger tank. But if any of you have stripped down one of these beauties, the original tank was a bastard to get in. So this is going to be fun. The instructions you get with it are shocking. It looks a cracking bit of piece of work. I think it'll be a good job, but yeah, instructions are poor. So I've been asked to do a bit of a video of the install, so you can fast forward this first bit. It's 2-3 minutes of me waffling, and I'm just going to show you just how to set the tank up, what bits you do need. There's a lot of bits you don't need, what you've got to strip off the bike to make it easy, which is pretty much the whole back end, and that's it. Yeah, so yeah, enjoy. Right, so first things first, strip the bike down. Some people say you got to take this off, that off, these bits off, leave this on, take that off. If I'm honest with you, take the lot off, take whatever you can off. I've even dismantled the top of the left hand rear shock just to get it out of my way. Yeah, just strip it right down. So you know, that's everything from obviously your original tank, sorry about the mess, the exhaust, seats, fender, the lot, but just strip it all down. Okay, so this is what you get. I will go through at the end who the missus bought this off, but they've been great. It's just the instructions are rubbish, like I said earlier. So this is your tank you get. It does sound like there's something in there when you get it, but that is just the vent. Everything else is just pretty standard. This is your vent. This is your fuel feed. That's pretty much it, to be quite honest. Things that you're going to be using from the pack that they give you, you'll get this, which is obviously your fuel cap with the rubber gasket that you push on, so that comes loose. Your bolts to go with it. You're going to get 2 of these brackets which fit onto the back edge of the tank, but you just have to use your old rubbers. You don't get new ones of them. This is your engine mount, which goes on to the front. That fits on there, so that's all brand new. It doesn't really tell you what bolts to use, but I just checked the depth of these with a thin screwdriver, and then married up to the bolts that they give you in the pack. You have to use your old rubber mount, which squishes onto the front of there once it's on. This little kitty here is again, there's no instructions for this bit at all, but it is obviously for your it fixes on here. It's for your filter off your feed. You're going to need your old fuel signal. It comes with a new gasket which squashes onto there like that. Whoops. And just a couple of the bolts. That is all you need out the pack for this. What you don't need is that lot. So I've rung them up, I've told them what I've got, I've showed them photos, throw them in the bin, they said. So they're freebies, which you don't get often. You'll also find, there's some extra holes on this tank. You've got a couple here which are your mounts for the top, which you'll have to use your old discs for that. There's also at the back 4 holes. You don't need them at all. And the old inner rear fender, which covered your tank on your original, you don't fit it on. You just leave this. That is your new inner rear lower fender. You don't need the plastic one back on. It doesn't fit anyway. So what I'm going to do is do each one of these, plop them on, and then show you it all together. So don't forget, you've got a gasket that goes onto there and 2 screws, but use the old one. This is new, and this is for your filter. This is new, these are new. This is the old bung that goes on the top. That fits on the front of the bottom front of the tank, fixes into your frame. These are your old rubbers. They're the new clips that go onto the sides, which are like a little buffer to wedge it up against the frame. And then you get this new your fuel filler cap with your bolts and that rubber O-ring that you squash over to the top, and obviously it goes on underneath. And when you fit that, you'll see there's like a little beveled edge here, and it just sits in there nicely. Okay, show you when they're all on. So everything's on now, what you need to put on. So fuel top cap went on with the gasket underneath. All these bolts as well, every bolt you put on, it says in instructions no more than 5 kilonewton of pressure. Don't go anywhere near it with a torque spanner or anything, because it is just plastic. I've just done these up and then given them a little nip at the end, that's it. So filler caps on, fuel inlet rather. This is the bracket for the fuel filter. You'll find that there's a little angle here. Again, there's no instructions for how this goes on, but this spins round, so I'm presuming that the original one come out this way, which you'll know bends back up, and then the clips stick up like that. Well, there's no space for that, so I'm doing mine that way, and then the fuel filter goes there, fuel line comes here, comes back down this way. So instead of coming down this way, it will come down around the back there. I don't think it'll be a problem. May have to extend the hose a little bit, but that's minor. Around to the face of the tank then. So this is your engine mount with the old rubber on it. Again, 3 bolts. There's one hidden underneath there that's recessed. Again, just nip them up at the end. Don't go mental on them. There's your fuel light sensor with the new rubber behind it. Again, nip them up. And then you've got the engine buffer mounts, as I call them. Again, there's no reason, there's no way of telling which way these go. Just stick them on and have a look. They will only go one way. You'll notice this is a bush that I made up because the old one was perished, and if I'm honest, I'm too tight to buy another one. So when you plop these on, they literally just push back in. There's no rhyme or reason to it, but that's how the bracket looks when you fit it on. So it's slightly longer on one kink than the other, and it just follows the profile of the tank anyway, as you can see. So I'll put this rubber on, get a few other bits prepped, and then we'll try and shoehorn it in. Okay, so lesson learnt for Lee. One bit of good advice in the instructions that do come with it that I said were rubbish is to take the battery box out. Well, I didn't. I was trying to shoehorn that in there, and guess what? I had to take the battery box out. So just while we're here, a couple of safety things that came up on the instructions was this heat shield here. You see that heat shield? That has got to be in. If you haven't got that in, you could blow up and die. But all joking aside, make sure you got that heat shield in. That must be fitted, okay? If you haven't, please don't fit your tank until you've got one. The other thing that comes with the kit are these rubber hexagonal horseshoe shaped nylon-y sort of jobbies. You have to run your bike with standard length rear shocks. If you've got shorties on or anything like that, you can't run it, you'll bottom out in the tank. These fit around the piston rod in there, so you squash them in. They don't matter whether they go top or bottom, they're just going to bottom out when you hit a dirty great lump. But yeah, so heat shield, standard shocks, and take that bloody battery box out. Okay, let's get this thing in. Well, by the grace of God and all who holy, it's in. Apologies for the wiring at the moment. I'm actually fitting some jivvy, whatever you want to call it, panniers on, so I'm messing about with indicators and that. But concentrating on the tank, ignore that shitty wiring. It's in. A couple of things. You do have to take your rear brake fluid reservoir off, and what I've done was I zip tied it right around here out of the way, so it's completely out of the way. There is a groove in there which it sits nice and neatly in, but you'd need it out of the way while you're fitting the tank. And I told you a lie earlier. That bracket there for the fuel filter, I had it on a different angle. You do have to put it on as it was originally, but the hose connection is as tight as anything, so you sort of have to, what I'm going to do is put the rubber housing on there first, then feed the hose through and try and sort of fanny it in, I think the technical term is. But it is really tight. I mean, as you can see there, it's you ain't got much room to get your hose on, but it goes in, it fits. Had to use some of the bolts that they supplied for these, only because the thread was different. I've relocated the vent, so I've shortened it. It's got two kinks in it where it comes across the back of the frame here. I cut one of the kinks off just so it was a bit straighter. Obviously I can't connect that until I've got the battery box and battery back in, because it will just be too tight, so that'll just be something I'll plop on later on. But yeah, vent's relocated round to that side instead of this side. Get this puppy on, and that should be it. Okay, so a couple of little pointers as we're going on. The fuel that did go back in eventually. I had to swear at it a lot, but it went in. It's really fiddly to get that on, but it does go on. But you'll see that it does sit a little bit higher, but nothing interferes with that. With what goes over the top, enough clearance on there, so that went in. This beauty, this rubber lip that goes all the way around, had to cut 6 to 7 mil off of that, which left it real shy at the bottom. Otherwise your cap doesn't go over, because your cap needs to go over rather than just on top. So you'll see there's like a ridge. So I heated it up slightly, not too much, just with boiling water, and then just bent it inside out and cut it with a blade. So that sort of works. But yeah, that's not in the instructions. One that is in the instructions is, and I do apologise for how dirty this bike is, but I've not washed it since we did Scotland. Anyway, rear fender, it says 20 mil's got to be cut off of it. I haven't had to cut 20 mil off at all. I've got good clearance, it's gone straight back on how it was. So yeah, that one you might need to look at, but I would just get your tank in, offer your fender up. If it needs cutting, cut it, otherwise just leave it as is. And the rubber bushes, again, another tester of your patience. Don't drop it, because if it goes down here like I did, there's a few more swear words to get it back up. But you do, I just plopped it on the bottom, pushed it down to the bottom of the piston rod, and she will stay there. But yeah, nearly there. Everything else has gone back on nice and snug. The pillion foot pegs that, as you can see, never get used, all back on. Tanks in. The vent is, like I said earlier, has been rehoused over to the left hand side of the bike. Yeah, that's it, we're nearly there. Well, there you go, she's in. Yeah, wasn't too bad after all. I think if you're willing to take the rear end off of one of these things, you're more than capable of fitting this. Filled it up, no leaks so far. That's not to say it's not going to leak, always the optimist. But what I did find was the side panels, they were very tight to get back on, and just be mindful of what you use. Sorry, that's I've got a GPS speedo on this because I changed the front wheel, but just be careful when you're putting your bolts through that you don't go into the tank. That one there, I've left that one in, that's touching the tank, so I'm actually going to swap that for a smaller bolt, but the others are pretty clear of everything else. But yeah, it's all back together. Ignore the bird's nest on the right. I've got a new battery coming because I fried the last one. Yeah, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed, or well, not enjoyed, but I hope it's of some use to anybody that wants to spend the money to get one of these tanks. I think they're anything between 500 and 600 quid. But I do a lot of touring on this. It's not a show bike, so hence how filthy it is, and it's just got loads. You know, it's a donkey and a workhorse, and I love it. And I wouldn't have another bike for touring. It's fantastic. But yeah, the tank was the problem. We had to stop every sort of 80 miles, whereas now this is meant to be good for anything from 120 to 140, depending on what you're doing, motorway or cruising through the Alps. So yeah, good luck and stay safe.